dim the lights. Let your shoulders drop. Tonight, we are going to Venice, and then very far past it. A boy of 17 sailed east from that city and did not come home for 24 years. When he finally walked back through his own door, no one recognized his face. They called him a liar for the rest of his life. Il Milione, the man of a million. And on the night he lay dying, they leaned over his bed and begged him to take it all back. He would not. And what he said instead is the reason you have heard his name at all. So settle in. Let me tell you about Marco Polo. Not the legend. The boy. Because he began as a boy. And I think we forget that. We turn people into monuments, and we forget that they were once small, and confused, and left behind. Marco Polo was born in Venice around the year 1254, in a city built on wooden piles driven into black mud. A city of green canal water and salt air, and the constant patient slap of tide against stone. And when he was very young, his father Niccolo and his uncle Maffeo sailed away on a trading voyage, and they did not come back, not for years. Can you imagine that? A boy waking up in a narrow Venetian house, listening to the water move under the windows, and having no idea whether his father was alive or dead, or on the other side of the world, or at the bottom of the sea. He was raised by relatives. His mother died while his father was gone, and every year the boy grew a little older and a little more like a stranger to the man who would eventually walk back through the door. Now, here is the part they leave out of the tidy version. When Niccolo Polo finally came home, Marco was around 15 years old. And the father who returned was not the father who had left. He had been to the court of the great Khan. He had crossed deserts. He was carrying a letter from the most powerful ruler on earth, and a request that must have sounded like madness in a damp merchant house in Venice. Kublai Khan, ruler of the Mongol Empire, grandson of Genghis, wanted 100 wise men from Europe, learned men who could argue and reason and explain. And he wanted oil from the lamp at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Picture the boy standing in that doorway, a father he barely knows, a story too large to fit inside the room, and the beginning of the rest of his life. But stay here with me a moment longer, in that house, because I do not want to rush past it. Venice, in those years, was not the postcard you are imagining. It was a working city. It smelled of fish and tar and wet rope, and the low green rot of the canals at low tide. Its wealth came from the sea, and its wealth came from patience, and every family in it understood something most of Europe did not, that the world was larger than the horizon, and that the men who went out past the horizon and came back were the men who got rich. So Marco grew up in a city that was always leaving, ships going out, ships coming in, cargoes of pepper and cinnamon and silk that had passed through a dozen hands before they ever reached the lagoon, and nobody in Venice truly knew where the beginning of that chain was. They only knew that somewhere, far out east, past the edges of the maps, there were places where these things simply grew. He would have heard men talking, in the market, on the quays, merchants back from Constantinople, from Acre, from the Black Sea ports. Men with sunburnt faces and salt in their beards, telling half stories about the East, and none of them had actually been there, and all of them spoke as though they had. And the boy listened. The boy with no father listened to men talk about the place his father had gone. Do you see how a life gets made? Not with a decision, with a long, slow accumulation of longing, laid down quietly, year after year, like silt. So when Niccolo finally came home, and the story of the Khan came spilling out into that narrow house above the water, I do not think Marco Polo was surprised. I think he had been waiting for it his whole life. Now close your eyes and picture this. The year is 1271. Marco is 17. He is standing on the deck of a ship as Venice pulls away behind him, the bell towers shrinking, the water turning from green to blue, to that deep, endless dark that has no bottom and no name. He is going with his father and his uncle to the other end of the world, and he has no idea that he will not see this city again for 24 years. 24 years. Say it slowly. He would leave a boy of 17 and return a man past 40. Everyone he knew would age without him. Every friend, every neighbour, every face that had watched him grow. The Venice he was leaving was already becoming a memory in the exact moment he was living it. And he did not know. That is the thing about the great journeys, isn't it? The people inside them never know. They simply take a step, and then another, and somewhere along the way the door closes quietly behind them. The Polos did not travel alone at first. They carried a golden tablet, a paisa, given to them by the Khan's officials, and I want you to hold that image for a moment, because it is beautiful and it is strange. A small slab of gold, inscribed with an order in the Khan's name, that essentially said this: let these men pass, feed them, house them, give them horses, and if you harm them, you will answer for it. It was a passport made of power. 3 foreigners walking across half the world, holding a piece of metal that meant no one could touch them. They went first toward Jerusalem, for the oil the Khan had asked for. They went to Acre, that crusader city on the coast, hot and crowded and full of the smell of tar and horses, and there they met a papal legate named Teobaldo Visconti. And this is where the story does something no novelist would dare invent. Because while the Polos were waiting, Teobaldo Visconti was elected Pope, the very man they had been speaking with, chosen in Viterbo after the longest papal election in history, a conclave so deadlocked that the townspeople eventually tore the roof off the building to hurry the cardinals along. Nearly 3 years without a pope, and then, suddenly, a pope, and he was standing right there in front of them. He took the name Gregory X. Can you imagine the feeling of that? The strange lightness of it? The sense that some invisible hand was pushing you forward. He did not send the Khan 100 wise men. That was never going to happen. He sent 2 friars, and the 2 friars, when they saw the road ahead of them, when they understood how far it truly went, and what was waiting in the mountains, turned around and went home. So it was just the 3 of them, a father, an uncle, and a boy. And now let me slow this down, because this is the part of the story I love, and I want you to be almost asleep for it. They walked east. They went through what is now Turkey, through Armenia, into Persia. They passed places where the wind smelled of sulfur, where the ground burned with fires that never went out. Marco wrote about a fountain of oil, so much of it that 100 ships could be filled, and people used it for their lamps and rubbed it on the backs of camels for their sores. Petroleum, seeping out of the earth in Baku, centuries before anyone would give it a name that mattered. He was 17, and he was watching the earth bleed fire, and he wrote it down. They went into the desert, and here I want you to feel it, not the fact of it. The feeling. The Gobi, or in his telling, the great desert of Lop, which he said took a month to cross at its narrowest point and a year at its widest, and which he described in a way that has haunted people for 700 years. He said that when a traveller falls behind at night and loses sight of the others, he will hear voices. Voices calling his name, voices that sound exactly like his companions, telling him to come this way, come here, we are over here. And he will follow them. And he will never be seen again. Marco called them spirits. We would call them wind and exhaustion, and the mind unraveling in the dark. But listen to me, because the truth of it is the same either way. The desert takes the ones who wander off, and it does it gently, by giving them something they want to hear. Can you imagine lying in that dark? The sand still warm, the stars so thick they look like spilled salt, and somewhere, out beyond the fire, a voice you know, calling you by name. He crossed it, and before he crossed it, he nearly died, and almost no one tells you this part. Somewhere in Persia, or in the mountains beyond it, Marco fell ill. We do not know with what. Fever, most likely, the kind that comes out of standing water and bad food, and a body pushed too far. And they stopped, in the highlands, where the air was clean and cold, and they waited, and he lay in some room in some village, whose name he never bothered to write down, and he did not get better for a long time. A year, some say, perhaps close to it. Think about that. A young man, alone in his own body, in a country he cannot name, listening to a language he does not understand through a wall, not knowing if he will ever stand up again. No mother, no doctor he could trust, just his father and his uncle, waiting. And that is where the great journey almost ended. Not in a battle, not in a storm, in a sickbed, quietly, the way most things end. But he stood up, and they went on, through Balkh, a city he found in ruins, broken by war, marble palaces half fallen, and the wind moving through them. He wrote about it plainly, and there is something in the plainness that stops me. He had grown up in a city that had never been sacked, and here he was, 17, 18 years old, walking through the bones of a place that had been beautiful. He would see a great deal of that. Through the Pamas, the mountains they called the roof of the world, where he wrote that they climbed for 12 days and saw no living thing, no bird, no house, no grass, and where he noticed that the fires burned strangely, small and blue and cold. Through Kashgar, through Yarkand, through the oases strung along the edge of the great sand like beads on a thread, each one a green island in an ocean of nothing, each one with its own water and its own gods and its own way of burying the dead. He noticed all of it. That is the thing I keep coming back to about him. Other men crossed these roads. Traders, soldiers, monks, ambassadors, generations of them, and the road was old before Marco Polo ever set foot on it. What made him different was not that he went, it is that he could not stop looking. 3.5 years of walking and riding and waiting out winters, through mountains so high he wrote that fires there burned dimmer and gave less heat, and cooked food poorly, which is one of the earliest descriptions anyone in Europe ever wrote of altitude, of the thin air on the roof of the world, and he had no idea what he was describing. He simply noticed. He was a young man with an eye that would not stop working. 3.5 years, and then, at last, they came to a city that Europe had never seen, and the great Khan came out to meet them. Now. Close your eyes. Kublai Khan was in his 50s by then. He was the grandson of Genghis, the man who had shattered the world, and he had done something his grandfather never quite managed. He had settled. He ruled China. He had taken the empire built by horsemen and turned it into a court, a bureaucracy, a state. He had built a summer palace in a place called Xanadu, which the English language, 400 years later, would soften into a word that means paradise and dream, and something you can never quite reach, Xanadu, and Apollos knelt before him. And here is the detail I keep returning to. Marco says the Khan asked about the young man. "Who is this?" And Niccolo said, "This is my son and your servant." And the Khan said, "He is welcome." 2 words, and a life turned. Because Kublai Khan liked him. Nobody quite knows why. That is the honest answer, and I want to give you the honest answer. Softly. Here in the dark. But something about this Venetian in his early 20s caught the attention of the most powerful man alive. Perhaps it was his memory. Perhaps it was his eye for the strange detail. The thing no one else thought to mention. Perhaps it was simply that Marco listened, and that he had spent his whole life becoming a person who watched carefully and said the right thing. He learned languages, several by his own account, not Chinese most likely, but Persian. The language of administration across the Mongol world, and probably Mongol itself, and Turkic. And the Khan began to send him places. This is the part that changes everything, and I want you to hear how quiet it is. There was no ceremony. There was no moment where trumpets sounded. There was simply an emperor who was bored of his own officials, who came back from their missions and reported on taxes and grain and troop numbers, and who found all of it unbearably dull. And there was a young foreigner who came back and told him stories. Marco says the Khan sent him on missions for 17 years. To Yunnan in the far southwest. To Burma, perhaps. Down through the interior of a country that no European had ever mapped or dreamed. And every time, he came back and he told the Khan not just what he had counted, but what he had seen, the strange customs, the odd foods, the way people buried their dead, the black stones that people dug from the mountains and burned in place of wood, that gave more heat and lasted longer through the night. Coal, he had to explain coal to Europe, because Europe did not really know, and let me stay in that court a while longer, because I want you to see it, and because seeing it is the whole point of a night like this one. Picture the Great Hall at Kublai, the city of the Khan, which sits beneath the streets of Beijing to this day. Marco says 6,000 men could dine there at once, walls painted with dragons and beasts and battles, the Khan on a raised platform, higher than everyone, his sons below him, and then his lords, and then his officers, and then the lesser men, the whole room a map of power laid out in the height of a cushion. And there were servants whose only task was to cover their mouths and noses with silk cloths when they carried food to the emperor, so that no breath of theirs would touch what he ate. Think about the strangeness of that, the absolute dizzying strangeness of it, to a boy from a merchant house in a wet city on the Adriatic. And when the Khan drank, Marco says, music played, instruments sounded, and every man in that vast hall, 6,000 of them, knelt. 6,000 men kneeling, because one old man lifted a cup. Can you imagine standing at the back of that room, 22 years old, watching? And there was the hunting. 10,000 falconers, he says. Leopards riding on the backs of horses, great lions, or what he called lions, trained to run down deer. The Khan carried out into the field in a wooden pavilion on the backs of 4 elephants, lined with cloth of gold, lined with the skins of lions, and lying inside it, because he was old now, and his joints hurt him. An old man with bad legs, who could not walk, but who still would not stay home. I find that unbearably human. The most powerful man on earth, carried out to watch birds fly, because he could not sit still in a palace. And there was Xanadu, the summer capital, up on the grasslands, where the air was cooler. A marble palace, gilded, painted, with a park 16 miles around, and streams and meadows, and deer and roe kept there for the hawks. And in the middle of the park, a palace of bamboo, not stone, bamboo, gilded and lacquered and varnished, so beautifully made that rain could not spoil it, and held down against the wind by more than 200 silk cords, because the whole thing could be taken apart and moved. The Mongols had conquered the world from horseback, and even now in this glittering settled empire, in this marble city, the Khan kept a palace that could be folded up and carried away, because that is who they were, because underneath the gold they had not entirely stopped being people who lived in tents. Marco saw that. He wrote it down without comment. But he saw it, and centuries later a poet in England, half asleep, would read a garbled version of this and dream a poem about a pleasure dome in Xanadu, and wake and try to write it, and be interrupted, and never finish it. And that is the second most famous unfinished thing in the English language. And it began here, in this park, with this boy, watching a folding palace made of bamboo and gold. Stories travel strangely. Now, back to the coal. back to the black stones. He described paper money, and nobody believed him. Slips of mulberry bark, stamped and sealed, and every man in the empire accepting them as if they were gold, on pain of death. To a Venetian, to a man from a city that ran on hard coin, on the weight of metal in the palm, this was closer to sorcery than economics. A piece of paper, worth a fortune. Because the Khan said so, he described a postal system with relay stations every 25 miles, thousands of them, tens of thousands of horses standing ready, so that a message could cross the empire faster than anything in Europe could manage. He described a city called Kinsai, which we know as Hangzhou, and he said it had 12,000 bridges. 12,000. Europeans laughed. They still laugh a little when they read it, but here is the part they leave out. Hangzhou was, at that moment, almost certainly the largest and richest city on earth. Perhaps 1 million people, when Venice had 100,000 and Paris was smaller still. He was not lying. He was standing in front of something so far beyond his own world that he had no honest way to make it sound true. Have you ever tried to describe something enormous to someone who has never seen anything like it? That was the rest of his life. And now, let the room get a little darker, because we are coming to the part beneath the part. We talk about Marco Polo as an adventurer, a discoverer, but sit with this for a moment, in the warmth of the blanket, and think about what those 17 years actually were. He was a servant of an emperor. He was, in some sense, a hostage of his own good fortune. The Khan liked him. The Khan liked all three of them. And that was the problem. Marco says quite plainly that the Polos wanted to go home, and that they asked, and that the Khan would not let them. He loved them too much to release them. Think about how that would feel, sitting in the most beautiful court in the world. Silks and lacquer and gardens. The Khan's hunting parties with their leopards and their gerfalcons. 10,000 men riding out. The sky full of birds. Wealth beyond anything a Venetian merchant could have imagined, and you cannot leave. And your father is getting old. And you are getting old. And there is a city on the other side of the world, built on mud and water, where the bells ring across the lagoon at evening, and you cannot remember your mother's face, and you cannot go. Can you feel what that silence must have felt like? The gilded room, the unopened door. They were, by Marco's own account, afraid. Afraid that when the old Khan died, the men who came after him would not be so fond of 3 rich foreigners who knew too much about the machinery of the empire, afraid that all this favour was a rope, and it went both ways. And so they waited, and they waited, and they grew older in a foreign court, and I want you to just rest inside that, because it is not a battle, and it is not a great deed. It is simply what most of a life actually is. Waiting, being kind to a powerful man, hoping the door opens. And then, at last, it did. A princess. Isn't that always how it goes? Her name was Kokachin. She was 17 years old, a Mongol princess of the Bayout tribe, and she had been chosen as a bride for Argun, the Mongol ruler of Persia, a distant kinsman of Kublai. The overland route was closed. War, banditry, the usual reasons the world locks its doors. So she would have to go by sea, all the way around Southeast Asia and India, and that meant someone had to take her. And the Polos who had sailed, who knew the sea, who had spent their lives in ships, said, "We will. Please, let us take her." And the Khan, an old man now in his late 70s, let them go. I have always found that goodbye almost unbearably tender. This ancient emperor, who had known this Venetian since he was a young man in his 20s, letting him go at last, he gave them the golden tablets again. Safe passage. He asked them to carry messages to the kings of Europe. He knew, I think, exactly what he was doing. He knew he would not see them again. 14 ships, 600 people, not counting the sailors, 2 years at sea. And here is where the story turns dark, and I am going to tell it to you softly, because it is late, and because it deserves to be told softly. Of the 600, only 18 survived. Storms, disease, the long crawl through the islands of what is now Indonesia, waiting out monsoons. Months anchored in Sumatra, where Marco wrote about building a wooden fort to protect the crew from the people ashore, and about a nut as large as a man's head, full of sweet white flesh and water. Coconuts. He had never seen one. He described a bird so large it could lift an elephant, which was a story he was told, and which he passed on, and which people have mocked him for ever since. Though there really is an enormous flightless bird on Madagascar, and stories travel further than birds do. 18 out of 600. Let that number rest on you for a moment, softly, the way a hand rests on a shoulder. 600 people boarded those ships in a harbour in southern China. 14 great junks, 4-masted, some of them with 60 cabins. Ships so much larger than anything Europe was building that Marco struggled to describe them and was mocked for the sizes he gave. 600 people, with their belongings and their prayers and their small private hopes about what the other end of this voyage might hold for them. 24 months later, 18 of them walked ashore in Persia. They died of storms. They died of thirst. They died of the sicknesses that live in ships. In the dark below the waterline, where the water goes green in the barrels and the rats move in the grain, they died in the long months anchored off Sumatra, waiting for the wind to change, watching the same shoreline for 5 months, while the men grew sick and quarrelsome and afraid. And nobody wrote their names down. 600 people, and we have 3 names: Niccolo, Maffeo, Marco, and the princess. 4. That is what the past mostly is, my friend. It is a very small number of names, and an enormous silent number of people, who were just as real, who felt the ship move under them, who were homesick, who had someone waiting for them. I think about them tonight. I think it is worth thinking about them, in the dark, for a moment, before we let them go. But the princess lived, Cocachin lived, and when they finally reached Persia, they learned that Argon, the man she was to marry, had died 2 years earlier while they were still at sea. 2 years of storms and death and burial at sea, and the reason for all of it was already gone. She was married instead to his son Garzan, and she lived only a few more years, and she died young. And here is the smallest, most human detail in this entire story. The one I want to leave in your hands as you drift. Marco says she wept when they parted. She had been a girl of 17 when she boarded that ship. She spent 2 years at sea with these 3 foreigners while everyone around them died. And when they finally set her down in Persia, in a strange court, to marry a man she had never met, in place of the man she had never met, she cried to see them go. And that is not a fact from a ledger. That is not something you find in a tax record. That is a man remembering a girl's face. Now drift with me. Because we are nearly home, they came back to Venice around 1295. 24 years. And there is a story, and I will tell you honestly that it may be a legend, told and retold and polished by people who wanted a good ending, but it is the story they told, and it has the shape of truth, even if it does not have the substance. They came to the door of their own house, and no one knew them. Their faces had changed. Their clothes were strange, worn Mongol garments, road-stained and foreign. They had been gone so long that they spoke Venetian with an accent, reaching for words the way you reach for something in a dark room. Relatives had taken the house. They were assumed dead, so they held a feast. And partway through the feast, the story says, they stood and took out knives and slit open the seams of those rough travelling coats, and out onto the table poured rubies, sapphires, emeralds, diamonds, everything they had carried across the world, sewn into the lining of clothes nobody would look twice at, and the room went silent. And Venice believed them. Is it true? Probably not. Not exactly. Not the way they told it. But listen, the gems were real. The wealth was real. He was known in Venice for the rest of his life as Il Milione, the man of a million, and nobody agrees whether it was a family name or a joke about how everything he described was in the millions. I think about that nickname. It sounds affectionate. It also sounds like a city gently telling a man that it does not quite believe him. And now, the prison. Because here we are, back where I started in the cold cell, and now you know how he got there. Venice and Genoa were at war. Marco Polo, a wealthy man in his 40s, found himself in a Genoese prison, and in that cell, he met a man named Rustichello of Pisa, a writer, a man who had spent his life composing romances, tales of King Arthur, chivalry, love, adventure, a professional teller of stories, locked in a room with the most extraordinary story of the age. And Marco talked. Picture it. Stone walls. A little light from a high window. A man in his 40s who has seen the palaces of Xanadu and the deserts that call your name and the burning earth of Persia, sitting in a cell in Genoa and speaking. Slowly. Remembering. And another man writing it down in a strange mixed French-Italian, adding a flourish here, a bit of romance there, shaping it the way a professional shapes a thing. That is how the book was made. not in a study, not in a palace, in a prison, between two prisoners, one who had seen everything and one who knew how to make people listen. And when it was released into the world, it did not conquer immediately. It was copied by hand, and every copyist changed it, and there is no original, and there are 150 surviving manuscripts, and no two of them agree. People called it fables. People called him a liar. That was the accusation that followed him to the end of his life. He never went back east. He married Donata. He had 3 daughters, Fantina, Belella, and Moretta. He grew old in Venice and traded and squabbled over money like anyone else. And I find that oddly beautiful. The man who crossed the Gobi arguing about a debt over a bit of musk. He got old. And he got sick. And now the last part. The quiet part. The reason I began where I began. He was dying in January of 1324 in a house in Venice. He was around 70, and around his bed, as the story has always been told, they were friends and priests, and someone, out of love or out of concern for his immortal soul, leaned in and asked him to take it back, to confess, to retract the book, to admit that he had exaggerated, that the 12,000 bridges and the paper money and the black burning stones and the palaces of the Khan had been a young man's inventions. To die clean, and they say he raised himself up. And he said that he had not told the half of what he had seen. That is the line they have repeated for 700 years. And I cannot promise you he said it. It comes to us late, from a Dominican friar's account, and it has the perfect shape of something invented. But I will tell you why I believe it anyway, or why I want to, because what would he have gained by lying there at the end? Nothing. He was dying. He had nothing left to sell. And here is the thing that took the world centuries to understand. He was mostly right. The paper money was real. The coal was real. The postal relays were real. The vast southern cities and their canals and their bridges were real. Hangzhou really was the largest city on Earth. He was not the first European to reach China, and he was not a scientist, and he got things wrong, and Rustichello certainly embroidered him. He never mentions the Great Wall, or tea, or foot binding, and scholars have argued about that for 100 years. But he told the truth about the shape of the world, and 150 years later, in Genoa, a young sailor read a copy of that book, and he underlined it, and he wrote notes in the margins, and he became obsessed with the idea of reaching those cities of gold. He carried that book with him when he sailed west, looking for the Khan's China, and instead he found a continent nobody in Europe knew was there. His name was Christopher Columbus. His annotated copy still exists. You can go and look at the handwriting in the margins. So when they say the journey changed the world, that is what they mean. Not that a man walked a long way. Men had walked long ways before. They mean that a bored emperor liked a young Venetian's stories, and the Venetian went to prison. And in prison he talked to a writer, and the writer wrote it down, and a sailor in Genoa read it, and could not stop thinking about it, and sailed west. And everything after that is the world you and I live in. All of it resting on a man in a cell, remembering. And now, the very last thing, come back with me to that deathbed. The candle. The friends. The priest waiting. They asked him to take it back, and whatever words he actually said, the meaning of them has come down to us intact across 700 years, and it is this. I saw it. I was there. It was more than you can imagine, and I could not find the words. And if you think I made it larger than it was, you have understood nothing. Because I made it smaller. I made it smaller because that was all the language I had. That is the secret. That is the thing the history books never quite wrote down. Not that he lied, that he could not tell you enough, that he went to his grave knowing that everything he had said was a small, flat, poor version of the light on the water at Hangzhou, and the sound of the wind in the desert of Lop, and the face of an old emperor letting him go, and now you know it too. So let it go. Let it settle. Let it sink down through you and out of you like a stone falling slowly through deep water. The boy left Venice. The man came back, and the story he told in a cell, doubted by everyone, half legend, half truth, went on quietly reshaping the entire world for 700 years, while he lay in a small grave in a small church, in a city built on mud. The lights are low. The water is moving under the windows. He said he had not told the half of what he had seen. And now, with that finally said, you can let it go and rest. Sleep well.